I wish to acknowledge the custodians of this land, the Dawal people of the Dawal nations, and their elders past and present. I acknowledge and respect their continuing culture and the contribution they make to life of this city and this region. Considering my work setting was central regarding community service providers, I set out with the expectation that I would come across at the very least a flag in representation of acknowledgement of the First Peoples. I had expected to see at the very minimum an Aboriginal people's flag. Undoubtedly, I was wrong. Very wrong. Not even the building where I work in, which was home to well-known community service providers such as Life Without Barriers, Uniting Care, and Morris 180, who specifically dealt with Indigenous clients. All these community service providers appeared to fail in paying tribute to Indigenous Australians or their culture alongside their marked efforts of recognition and acknowledgement of their funders or associates. I stood pondering for a minute as I began to pay attention to the little scribble stickers and marketing materials marked in doors, windows, and glass frames, which practically encompassed almost everything but Indigenous acknowledgement. Still, this did not set in. I thought I will continue my search in my local setting close to home and find what I was looking for, only to be gravely disappointed once I did so. Considering my local area was still developing and neighbouring developing suburbs, I was also sure I would identify subtle tributes of Indigenous Australian culture in street names, community precincts, or artwork in surrounding infrastructure in parklands. It then dawned on me that privilege in all its glory, alongside intersectionality, has allowed for the manifestation of my ignorance and society's disregard for the First Peoples' land we inhabit. What I mean by this is, it was my natural expectation and assumption that our understanding and process in moving forward regarding the sensitive history of Aboriginal peoples would recognise and pay homage to the First Peoples throughout Australian culture in its entirety at the very least, this being an assumed privilege in itself. While countless new homes, new suburbs, and new city centres are proposed and being built swiftly to accommodate for the new living and community culture councils are attempting to craft, I was not able to identify at least a singular trace or existence of Indigenous culture or tribute. As my search continued and my worry grew, I was beginning to understand that the manner in which my immediate environments failed Indigenous people gravely was also extended in its failures toward me. As I started to consider the way in which the white man lives off the land, as opposed to the manner in which Indigenous people live with the land, I was able to recognize the idea of we cultivated our land, but in a different way from the white man. We endeavor to live with the land, they seem to live off the land. While a sign on almost every other block commercializes and reinforces the pressures of owning land, it seems more apparent that while colonization is often perceived as a notion of the past, however, the reality is that it has continued today and reflects in contemporary society. In addition, diversity, a notion welcomed and celebrated to a degree that is, of Western standard and confinement, projects such notions of land ownership and civilization with continued disregard of the First Peoples, in which many opportunities to further develop diversity and cultural awareness is impaired. Reflecting on my own interactions and experiences with Indigenous culture, like my search in trying to find acknowledgement and value from society, I was still left searching. The reality is I haven't had much, if any, experience in engaging with Indigenous people. In contrast, I considered my engagement with Indigenous country as I realized I lived through my own heritage and culture, that being of mixed South African race. I was able to identify equal values in consideration of the land we live of, native title, and various languages, just to name a few. Through these experiences and over the course of the semester, I have come to find new meaning and understanding in the notions of truth, diversity, and privilege, but furthermore, a deeper understanding of Indigenous people and the country we call home.